Thanks for joining First Star Logistics in the Trenches with Dave Lapham. Our guest today, Isaac Curtis, the legend. I'm telling you what, greatest player I ever played with. And this guy was a blur. Sweet Ice could run, my man. How you doing? You look great.
I feel good. Things are going well. Kind of holding the fort down here on the West Coast. Things are starting to get better and open up a little bit. We're moving around, playing a little golf every now and then, but things are good, looking up.
I'll tell you, boy, the pandemic's been crazy. I'm glad nobody in your family been affected, huh? Everybody's stayed away from that craziness.
For the most part, I've had some family members up in Northern California. I had a cousin that we lost.
Oh, really?
To the pandemic, yes.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Sorry to hear that.
Lost a couple friends, but yeah, it's been a venture.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, this is historic to say the least, and I can't wait till it's over. Normalcy sounds pretty good,
Whatever that's going to look like.
All right, we're going to let all fans here that have tuned in to learn everything there is to learn about Isaac Curtis. I'm going to go back to your high school days. At Santa Ana High School, you were a star running back. Your coach called you the best running back to ever play in Orange County. I mean, were you that good? Were you a stud in high school at the running back position, Sweet Ice?
My junior and senior year, I had pretty good years. I was pretty decent. Like I say, I could always run. So if I was able to get away and turn a corner, it was to the end zone.
Yeah, it was goodbye at that point.
We had we had good teams as well. As you know, that's what it takes,
But you get a full scholarship to University of California, Berkeley as a running back. And, right? You play running back.
As running back, went there with the play running back into with the opportunity to run track as well.
Right, ran track. And you were running back returner for the football team. You set a lot of records, and also you ran track like you mentioned. And then you transfer to San Diego State, and you hook up with a guy named Don Coryell in his early stages of his coaching career with the Aztecs, and he decides to move you from running back to receiver. You play slot receiver. What was that like for you when he talked to you about moving from running back to receiver? Was that an easy transition, a tough transition? What was it like?
It was actually a very easy transition for me, because even when I was at Cal, my junior year, my sophomore and junior year, I talked with them about moving to wide receiver, and I've always been able to catch the ball well coming out of the backfield. And I did more blocking at Cal than I did running, I think, half of the time. But it was an easy transition. And one of the reasons that I did that transfer and I went to San Diego State and got hooked up with Don Coryell is because they were going to move me to wide receiver. And I had to play, had the opportunity to play wide receiver that one year, my senior year at San Diego State with like I say, with Don Coryell and that offense that he had. And it was just a tremendous system to be in.
Man, you end up averaging over 19 yards a catch, just under 20 yards a catch and 7 touchdowns. And that was a trend that started throughout your career. I mean, your yards per catch were just unbelievably crazy. But like you said, you could always run. That world-class speed was unreal. You ran a 9.3 100-yard dash. You ran a 20.7 200 meters in Los Angeles in 1970. I mean, that's world-class speed. That's Olympic-type speed. Could you have run on the Olympic team?
I think so. I actually believe I could. At 72, the 72 Olympics, I was supposed to go to the trials, and that was the year that I transferred. And I did not. I would not go to the trials because football was my first love. And if I made the Olympic team, I'd have missed the first part of football season. It was my senior year. I had just transferred from Cal to San Diego State, so that was just not going to happen. But yeah, my teammate Eddie Hart at Cal, who was on that team.
Yep.
And I don't know if you remember that year that the U.S. team got the wrong starting time and and some of our sprinters missed a 100-yard dash.
Yep.
In 70, we were the 2 top collegiate sprinters in the country. We went undefeated all year long. We would only beat each other,
Wow.
back and forth with each other, all the way to the nationals, and we ran 1-2 in the nationals. I felt pretty good, and I was really running well in 72 during that track season for me. but I just would not go to the because I didn't want to bump guys out and then not go. So it was not worth me going to the trials, knowing that if I made the team, I was not going to go because I'd have missed the first part of football season.
Well,
Yeah.
football.
But actually, but you know what? I was actually a hurdler.
Is that
I
right?
didn't. I was a hurler in high school, and going into Cal.
Wow.
And what happened is I strained a muscle at Cal my freshman year, and right before the track season. And so I was kind of coming back. And so instead of running the hurdles and putting that kind of stress on my hamstring, we had a sprinter that was out, and the coach said, "Well, do you think you can run the 100-yard dash?" I said, "Yeah." So they put me in the 100-yard dash. I won it.
Wow.
And I ran a 9.3, and I never went over another hurdle.
That's unreal. A
And
9.3.
I always wish that maybe I would have stayed in the hurdles, because that would have probably been my best race to have the speed that I had and been a hurdler. But I converted over to the 100-yard dash, and I can say after that first 100 and that 9.3, and I never went over another hurdle. So
Wow. Low hurdles, high hurdles, both. What was your?
I was a high hurdle. Well, in college it was high hurdles, but in high school then it was a 180 lows, and I've had some of the, I think we're in the top 2-3 times in the country.
Wow.
Back then in the hurdles.
Just
Yeah.
a pure athlete, man. Pure athlete, no question about it. It's so Paul Brown, a guy that recognized talent. There's no question about that. General manager and head coach of the Bengals says we're going to take Isaac Curtis with the 15th pick of the entire draft, right there early in the first round. And the thing that he liked about you, and he verbalized it, he said not only a great player, but he really liked your quietly confident personality. He liked the fact that, no jumping up and down, no celebrating. You had that signature move, the over the shoulder, casual spike after you make a big play. How did that all come about, Ice?
Well, that came about back in San Diego State. When I first got there, a lot of the receivers were all sitting around before practice, and guys were talking about what they're going to do if they score, this, that, and the other. They're going to slam it. They're going to do that. And then one of the guys asked me, "What are you going to do if you score?" And I said, "I don't know. I'll just probably throw it back to the ref." He said, "No, you got to do something. You got to do something." So he tossed me the ball. I grabbed it and I just dropped it over my head. And I said, "That's it. That's what I'll do." And that kind of stuck. And that's kind of been what I've carried into the NFL.
Yeah, that was an unbelievably great signature move. There's no question about it. And you talked about very humbly earlier that you could catch the ball pretty well. I mean, you caught the ball as well as I've ever seen. I remember in the game that Kenny Anderson at the time had the record when he had like 20 straight completions in a single game against the Oilers. You caught the back half of a football on one of his throws that was just an unbelievable catch to keep that streak alive. Where was it? Just God-given talent? Was it something that you worked on to be able to catch the football like you could catch it?
It was just, I was just from playing, ball from just a very young age, growing up, catching balls, throwing balls. I mean, it was just, I was always able to catch a football. I never had any problem catching a football, and or catching any kind of ball. I could play baseball. I just think it was just that hand-eye coordination that I was able to really develop at a very young age. And it always came fairly easy to me.
So were you
this concentration,
Yeah.
and timing and hand-eye and coordination.
Did you play much baseball as a youngster?
I did. I played a little bit of baseball in high school. I would play in the summer leagues, and I actually was a pretty good baseball player.
I bet. What position?
Yeah, everybody. Well, I pitched, and I was a fielder. I played the field. I would have been an outfielder, but people in the little league and in baseball and through high school, they were surprised that I actually didn't play baseball.
Really, you were that strong a baseball player, huh?
Wow. I was pretty decent.
Baseball, track, football, athlete, capital A. There's no question. So you go on a stretch, a 4-year stretch, where you catch over a 4-year period. You average 19.8 yards per catch and 32 touchdown receptions over a 4-year from, 73 to 76, 73, 74, 75, and 76. In the first, in 74, 75, and 76, those 3 years, you averaged 20.2 yards a catch and 26 touchdowns. Now, this is before teams were throwing the football like they do today. I mean, if we threw the football 25 times in a game, that was a huge a number of throws. Usually there's between 20 and 25 throws a game, right?
Oh yeah. It was, we were just much more, you didn't throw the ball around like it is now. It wasn't just a total passing, like
Sure.
it's wide open now. We were more balanced offense. We had good, we ran the ball, we threw the ball, we threw the backs out of the backfield. But with Paul Brown and Bill Walsh there, when I first got there as our offensive coordinator, they were very creative in the passing game, and we really threw the ball around, but not like they do now. I mean, guys are catching 100 passes. I don't think you wouldn't be targeted 100 times in a year, let alone have the opportunity to catch 100 balls or 90 balls. So but I was very fortunate that with coming to Cincinnati and the teams that I were able to play with, and having a quarterback like Kenny Anderson that can deliver it to me, or to the wide receivers. Of course, we got to have big guys like you to protect him so he can have time to get it out there. So we had a lot going for us.
You were Jerry Rice before Jerry Rice. I mean, if you were playing in this era, I mean, the numbers that you would have put up would have been ridiculous. I mean, do you ever think about, man, if I had just been, in this era of football, or is that just a waste of time for you?
No, I just thought about it. Sometimes I think about it. I think how fun it would be, because the way they throw the ball, and even now, even when the 5-yard bump rule even first came in, when it initially came in, it was not really enforced that much. But I mean, you had to battle. We battled to get up and down the field back then. Where now, these guys, the way they throw the ball, and these guys big and fast receivers and stuff. It's tough. It's tough to stay with them.
And you just hit on something to me that just is the signature of your greatness, because when a player changes the game, that means that player was one of the greatest players of that era. And the Isaac Curtis rule, I mean, Paul Brown went to the rules committee and said, this is ridiculous. We got great players. Let's let these players perform. I mean, literally, I remember we were in Pittsburgh one time, and you came in the huddle and said, this big old linebacker-looking dude out here, Mel Blunt, he's tackling me at the line of scrimmage. This guy, it's ridiculous. I mean, back then it was just a hell of an accomplishment to release and get off the line of scrimmage. Now they have the the 5-yard rule, and back if you get off the line of scrimmage, they 15 yards down the field tackle you, for crying out loud.
They can tackle you. They clothesline you. I mean, it would actually come up, and a cornerback would actually cut your legs from under you. As long as the ball wasn't in the air, they pretty much had it was open season on you. I mean, when we suited up, wide receivers, we had to put on elbow pads, man. To battle with these defensive backs up and down the field. But that really opened the game up. But it really was, because it got to the point where I would get a cornerback on the on bump and run in front of my face. Outside linebacker would run out and try to cut my legs from under me.
Yeah.
Or the corner would roll up and try to cut you. I don't mean not cover you, absolutely just cut you. And it got to doing that, and I think the league very, very wisely looked at it and said, we need to make some changes.
I know the first guy
helped the game.
The first guy that really took advantage of the rule was Don Shula. When Bengals played the Dolphins, Don had nobody. They had nobody that could run with you. So Don Shula said, "We're just gonna maul him. We're just gonna basically, attack him." What they did would have been illegal in the streets, man.
Oh yeah. They basically mugged me.
Yeah.
But we did. We played. I think it was a playoff game that we played them, and Essex Johnson went through the middle. It was in '73. And he got hit on that knee and injured his knee, and it just seemed like the whole focus then was, okay, now let's just take Curtis out, and they would roll up and cut you, and I mean it was just they were the first ones that started it, and then it kind of cut on.
But boy, that 5-yard rule, where after 5 yards, hands off, that really started to open up the game a little bit, and now, like you said, everybody wants scoring. You know, they don't want 7-3 football games. They want, they want 50-47 football games, and that's what the fans like. You know,
yeah. I mean, wide open offense, scoring. It's exciting. It makes it exciting. It makes it fun to watch. And it's really opened up the game. And I tell you what, defensive backs, they got a tough job.
Oh.
trying to cover these wide receivers when you can't push them and throw them off their right routes and their timing after 5 yards. So I take my hats off to them.
Oh man, I'm telling you, they're unbelievable athletes. You mentioned Ken Anderson and some of the big arcing deep throws that he get out there for Isaac Curtis to run under and make a play. I mean, those things are entrenched in every Bengals fan's minds and memories for the rest of their lives. What was it about the relationship that you and Kenny had? I mean, was it something that you guys really, a lot of repetition, you really worked at it? It's not something that you take for granted, right?
No, you didn't really take it for granted. And I really worked hard. Kenny was a veteran, had been there and was an excellent quarterback and was very patient with me. But, because I had to learn a lot in a very short time. Like I say, I'm not playing wide receiver until my senior year in college and then coming to Cincinnati. So I really worked hard, and I really watched and learned from some of the guys, some of the veterans that were there, Chip Myers and Charlie Joyner and these guys that were there. And I could say I had the receiver coach there with Bill Walsh, Paul Brown. So I really had some really good instructions, and just working with Kenny and getting the timing. And, I think probably about midway through the season or so, we really got comfortable with him, where he had confidence in me, that knowing that I'm going to be where I'm supposed to be and I'm going to make the right reads. But it takes work. I mean, if you're going to succeed, with your quarterback and get the timing right, you got to work at it, and you got to work at it. So, and we put a lot of time in it.
Chris Collinsworth has nothing but respect for you and your ability to play the receiver position. I mean, even to this day, he talks about you in total awe, of your talents and the things that you could do that were just mind-boggling in his opinion. What was your relationship like with Chris?
Oh, it was great. I mean, it really was. Chris was such it seemed like he came in, he was such a polished receiver coming out of Florida.
Right.
But just to sit there and watch him and see how polished he was when he came in, but he really helped a lot. Like I say, he took a lot of pressure off of me, but was just a great person to be around. Great personality, as you know. I mean, he was never lost for words.
Right.
I mean, if there wasn't anything to talk about, Chris could talk about something. But he was just a great teammate and a great individual, and really great to be around. But I think we really complimented each other when he came in, and he took a lot, like I say, he took a lot of pressure off of me. Especially towards the end of my career,
Right, gotcha. Speaking about that transition to a guy that's toward maybe the end of his career with the Bengals, AJ Green. Not exactly sure if he'll be back in Cincinnati, for another year or not. That's still to be determined. But what do you think about AJ Green? What comes to mind when AJ Green's name is brought up in terms of the biggest attribute that he has as a wide receiver?
I tell you what, I just thought that AJ was. I thought he was just a really good student of the game. I thought he ran good routes, and he just really went after the ball. I thought when AJ came in, he was one of the most talented receivers I'd seen come into Cincinnati. I mean, all just pure talent.
Right.
He can run. He can catch. He was just, his range, but just a tremendous talent. He worked hard at it.
What do you think about Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, some of these young guys that the Bengals have on their roster now at the receiver position?
Yeah, I think that they're in pretty good shape going down the for the next few years with some of the wide receivers they've got. I'm pretty impressed with their whole wide receiver core this year. It was unfortunate that we lost our quarterback, but that young quarterback, that young wide receiver core, I think they are very talented. They're going to be around for a while. Yeah.
You mentioned the young quarterback, Joe Burrow, and lost him after I think it was in week 11, 10 games into the season. They lose Joe. I think in my mind, when I watch Joe and Kenny, I see some similarities, in their play, their football IQ and the way they throw the football with the accuracy they throw it with. Do you see some similarities between Kenny and Joe? And what do you think about Joe Burrow as a quarterback?
I tell you what I was able to see, I have been so impressed with him. Just his poise, and his accuracy. Just he really stands in there and delivers the ball. But I hear so much about his leadership and this type of person that he is. He's very impressive. When they drafted him, and after seeing him play a few times, I said, we've got a franchise quarterback. We got another franchise quarterback, because this kid, if he stays healthy, he's going to be talented for a while. He's going to be around for a while. Very, very good. So much potential.
I know you worked with Weingartner and Hammond's hotel management company in the Cincinnati area for a lot of years. Isaac, what are you doing these days? And what's up with Isaac Curtis these days?
Well, I'm fully retired now. I'm living the life of Riley, I guess they say. But, just trying to keep myself busy. I still get out on the golf course, play a little golf. That's about all I can do these days. No running, no jogging. I get out, do my walks, me and the wife, but just play a little golf, get with friends and family and hang out, that's about it. I'm taking it easy.
Is the body feeling pretty good?
Body's feeling pretty good. I can't complain, just the normal little aches and pains, that you have. I've had some wrist issues, but for the most part, I can say that I'm doing very well.
Well, I'll tell you that in my opinion, you should be in the Hall of Fame, a Hall of Fame candidate every single year. And like I said, should have already been in. In my opinion, your speed, your hands, what you did on a football field. I know you struck a bunch of fear in defensive coordinators and people in the secondary. I mean, you were just a graceful, unbelievably phenomenal athlete, Ice, and it was great to watch you perform. And you put on a show every single week, and you worked at it. You never took it for granted. You knew that playing in the National Football League wasn't a right; it's a privilege. And man, you approached it that way. And I always had a ton of respect for you and your abilities, my man.
Well, I certainly appreciate it. I really enjoyed my years in Cincinnati. And like I said, coming into Cincinnati, I had some really good teammates there, that really set some examples. And so, and you learn from those guys as well. And so I was very fortunate.
One of the greatest to ever play the game. Appreciate you visiting us on In the Trenches, Isaac, and best to you and your family.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here. Enjoyed talking with you. Enjoyed Miss Cincinnati. Hope to get back there soon.
Yeah, anytime. Love to have you back in the Natty. You're the best, Ice.
All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man.